Hi, everybody. Today is April 6th. The release is not yet over, so sparse attendance today, but we do have a few agenda items to take care of. Jordan, would you like to get us started, please?
Sure.
Do you want to share the screen with the cap?
Yeah. Let me see if Zoom is happy with me today. Host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you let me share my screen?
Yes, I did. Can you try now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
James, I heard your voice and I was like, wait, am I in the wrong meeting? Am
I still no. The belt, Micah.
Are you in 3 meetings at the same time, James?
Jordan, like you, I have a standing conflict. I can't make it out.
Yep.
In fact, with Micah, so
that's hilarious.
Both of us are missing that meeting today.
That's awesome. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
I can make it a little bigger. That helps. So I just opened this proposal earlier this week, and basically spinning up discussions around this. But the summary is, it would be awesome if the oldest nodes that we support and the newest control planes we support work together. That's the TLDR on the proposal. The current SKU that we support, which is N-2, like there's nothing magical about 2 versions. Like the reason we chose N-2 was so that if we're supporting 3 minor versions, the oldest nodes will work with the newest control planes. And when we made the switch to the annual support period, and we realized that people actually need a couple months to like qualify and roll out a new version, and so we extended the last minor version for a couple more months to allow for that overlap. We didn't really consider that our node SKU didn't allow people to actually leave their node pools on the version, get their control planes up to the latest version, and then do the upgrade. So it was sort of like a boundary off by 1 error. So I go through a bunch of motivation stuff. This picture is probably the most useful. So if you consider, like, we release, this is an example. So we release like 140, and then later we release 141, then 142, then a year later we release 143. Like, how would someone who just wanted to stay on supported versions with as little churn as possible, like how would they go about getting to the new version? And so if to stay within what we currently say we support, they can start their control plane upgrades, but then have to do node upgrades like halfway through, which means draining and recreating all their pods and workloads and everything, then get their control plane, the last version up, and then do all their nodes again. And so if we actually supported the oldest nodes and newest control planes, their upgrade could look like this. It also drops one of the control plane node combinations they have to qualify. Anyway, that's the motivation. The rest of the cap is like talking about, all right, what would it cost us to do this, and how disruptive or problematic would this be, in terms of testing or disrupting SIG's plans. And so I did actually a lot of analysis of sort of the last couple of years of work that SIGs have done, and what I know of that's planned for the next year in terms of what supporting 1 additional node version would have impacted. And it's actually relatively small. Most of the times that we roll out features, new features, we just say, if you want to use the new features, you have to be on new nodes, and which is actually pretty reasonable. Like there's things we could do maybe to make that a little safer or a little more user-friendly, instead of just failing a pod if someone tries to use a feature that their nodes don't support yet. But generally saying, if you want to use new stuff, you have to upgrade your nodes. That seems okay to me. It's actually pretty rare for us to wait until a feature has made it into all of the supported skewed nodes before we enable it in the control plane. I could only find a couple instances of that, and it's usually around like relaxing security policies or like changes in default behavior that would actually regress or break things if not all nodes supported the feature. And so there were only a couple instances in the last couple of years that I could find where we were waiting for the oldest node to support a thing.
So in similar situations, they'd have to wait another release cycle.
Right. So I actually went through starting with 122, so for like the last 2 years, so 122 to 127, and looked at all of these categories of things. So feature additions that we waited to graduate or permanently enable until the oldest supported nodes had them locked on. And so the balance servers account token change was the only one I could find that like the oldest node had to support, otherwise your pods would now fail to start. And so if we were supporting N-3 nodes, we would have left it in beta for another release and then graduated it.
Do you actually have to leave it in beta? I guess because you have to be able to disable it, you're saying.
Right, that's the thing. So we had it in beta, like by default it was on, but because clusters could opt out of it, we couldn't guarantee that, you know.
I imagine there are some features that simply, if you just don't use them, you're fine, right? Like even if they were GA, but you didn't use them, you'd be fine.
Yeah. So this actually touches on another point, which is our feature rollout strategy is pretty simplistic and naive right now. It's basically lock something on and then wait months or years. And so I linked.
That's a different cap. I don't know if you've seen Daniel.
I did. I linked to it.
Thank you. Yeah. Which is awesome. Yeah.
I would love to see that improve, but I think that's orthogonal to this. But yes, I would love to see that improve. So the first category was features that we waited to enable, and there were really only one or two, and both were SIG auth actually. So I'm like, security stuff tends to be the thing that you have to stay compatible with the oldest thing forever. So feature additions were one dimension, and it probably the most important. Like I don't want to slow down SIGs working on stuff and make it take longer for them if we felt that was going to be a common occurrence. The second category of stuff was removal of deprecated behavior, and so that's sort of the flip side. Like if nodes no longer need a particular behavior, the control plane has to still support it until it ages out of the oldest skewed node. And so the only example of that I found was SIG storage dropping the in-tree volume plugins. So once those switched to CSI and locked CSI migration on, the control planes had to still support the in-tree volume plugins until the oldest skewed node had CSI locked on for that volume type.
Yeah, but that, like you said, that doesn't really, I mean, that's just cleaning up cruft.
Right. I mean, it is like big cloud provider libraries. Like we're happy to see those drop out. Yeah. It would have been a little irritating to like have to keep those linked in for another release, but it's not the end of the world. And people who really care can already build providerless. So if they're not actually using those things, they've already switched to CSI migration and they really care about not having that dependency, they can build providerless. Anyway, those were the, so we don't want to slow down feature addition. And I couldn't find examples of delaying cleanup that would have like actually increased maintenance a whole lot. Mostly it's just don't touch that code for one more release and then delete it. And then the last category was like REST APIs. And actually we're doing really, really awesome here. When we pushed to get all the required APIs to GA in 119, like ever since then, node components have always been able to operate against API servers like 3 versions ahead. So we did a really good job of cleaning up usage of deprecated beta APIs in node components. And so there were like in 122 we dropped APIs, but nodes had long ago switched to the GA APIs. Same thing in might have put that in the wrong release. I was doing this late at night. Endpoint slice, similar thing. 125 dropped to the beta version, but kubeproxy already switched to the GA version 122. Anyway, this is I tried to think really carefully about like what this would cost in terms of impacting project velocity, and it didn't seem significant. So then the cost primarily became like a testing effort. And so I talked with SIG cluster lifecycle, who set up the current SKU tests that are exercising N-1 and N-2 nodes. And it wouldn't be difficult to generate N-3. The main risk there is that kubeatom technically only supports like one version older of node. It doesn't even support N-2. And so they're basically ignoring the kubeatom guardrails and just saying, I don't care, just set up a 2 version old node. And so if the kubelet like started changing how you have to invoke it, command line or node config or something, if it started changing in ways that kubeatom had to react to, even the existing SKU jobs might start breaking. We might have to rework them and use like an older version of kubeatom.
Are they open to adding that support?
Yeah, they didn't object to changing the generator to say, sure, like generate N-3. The question was more like, if it hits problems, like who owns resolve?
I mean, kubeatom folks, did you talk to the kubeatom folks about whether they would take on a requirement to support N-3 or N-2?
So kubeatom doesn't actually support N-2 today.
I know, right, but that's kind of a gap, right? Like they probably should.
Maybe. So I look at this as like whatever the core Kubernetes components support, those are building blocks, and those sort of give the lowest common denominator. Like if the core components don't support it, then nobody can reasonably say they support it. Like if particular management tools or upgrade managers want to support N-2 or N-3, like they can choose to.
It's just because it's part of the project as opposed to an external project.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not critical, like you said. It's you could, because in real world you're not going to be setting up N-3 nodes, right? For tests you do, like you already have them. That's the problem. It's not.
Yeah, the kubeatom is that in the phase where they want to have the cake and eat it too. So they want to be part of the project, but we haven't been able to staff a separate team for kubeatom, which will like take it out of the KK repository.
I see.
For the longest time.
So I'd probably like mark that as like potential future project work. Like if project deployment tools want to support SKU, like they could, that would probably be useful, but they could do their own like, surveys of users to say like, are people who are using kubeatom wanting this? I don't know.
Right. I don't think anybody really wants. Personally, I suspect people don't want to do that. We want to do it for our tests, but most people.
Anyway, that's the context of this. What I wanted to do here was just signal boost this goal and like ask if there were things that I wasn't thinking about, categories of work or testing that I didn't consider here that this would really impact or slow down or cause problems for.
Assume the cost of running those tests is not.
Should be
it's like one periodic test once a day. It's basically noise.
Nominal.
I think we have to call out this that this covers only the basic components and not like the add-ons, because things like Calico and other CNI providers, for example, live in the node, but they call API server too, right? So that is one thing, and like we don't have any control over that. So we are going to not talk about that at all. And it's up to them, up to the CNI providers, what SKU that they want to support. So we should clearly put that right on top, so people don't confuse what we are doing here with like, hey, it's up to them, right? So at this point, they are probably doing N-2 also. So they'll have their own cadence of getting to N-3.
Maybe sometimes I see it versioned with the control plane actually. Like if they're running with a daemon set, they might actually be versioning their CNI driver with the control plane. CSI drivers do that a lot.
Right. That's why I was thinking about like, hey, actually that is a different train of thought. So the other train of thought that I was thinking about was like, what would have happened for the PSP here, right? The PSP is enforced. Does it matter?
PSP is all server side. There's no
SecComp, SecComp definitions.
Yeah, I actually like when I was scrubbing through like the last 2 years of feature work, there were things that spanned control planes and nodes like SecComp, but we were so slow in rolling those changes out. The node changes landed like
way before
a year or two before we made the control plane changes. So I couldn't actually find places where this would have been the limiting factor.
Right. We can't go faster than that, which is okay because we are doing it slowly anyway. So
yeah, and there are plenty of features that get introduced and then graduate to beta and then graduate to GA, but they're already not waiting for node rollouts. They're saying like, we don't work with the N-1 nodes. If you want this feature, upgrade your nodes. And honestly, that seems totally fine. Like if we could make that more obvious or more user friendly, so that if someone tries to use the feature, instead of their deployment just failing, it told them like, sorry, this isn't enabled because your nodes aren't new enough. Like that would be nice, but that seems more related to Daniel's like feature flag enablement.
Yeah, sounds good to me, Jordan. This definitely helps. And you also, when we were talking on Slack, you mentioned that this was embedded in one of those docs from before, the KEPs from before when we were doing the
the annual
thing.
release.
Yeah.
I think, where was it? Annual release. Yeah, like it made reference to basically exactly what I'm trying to accomplish, but I think it did the math wrong and ended up not actually allowing the oldest kubelet to work against the newest API server because it didn't account for that lag where we release a new version and then support the oldest miner for a couple months to let people qualify and upgrade. And so during those couple months, like we don't actually support the oldest kubelet against the newest API server anymore.
Right. The other thing I think we should also call out is like we can say that the thing that came out from your chart which says you can keep moving the control plane and only at the end of the year do you really have to move the nodes. I think that is like big plus point, right? Like for all the people who are going very slow, we can say that, hey, now you have one more option. And I think that is a very powerful option that we're giving them here.
Yeah. Derek is not here today. I'm taking this to SIG node next week, but Derek and I were talking about this, and he was just emphasizing like control plane upgrades and node upgrades are not equal in terms of disruption. Like nodes are inherently way more disruptive because you're guaranteeing you're cycling every workload in the cluster if you're upgrading all your nodes.
Right. And if you really want new features of nodes, then it's out of luck, right? Like it's not our problem, it's your problem at that point.
But yeah, that's true. I think we underestimate how many people are like, Kubernetes is solving a business problem for us, and it's actually solved. Like we're just using it. We don't actually need new stuff and new releases. We just want to stay supported and stay stable and stop being disrupted and like just let me use what you already gave me.
Don't care about anything else
as easily as possible. Yeah.
If the case is we don't want people to be forced to upgrade nodes, like doesn't that mean they're all going to be sitting on CVEs and accumulating for a year?
No. So we support patch releases on these old versions. Like we actually just had a blog post go live yesterday talking about like we're trying to identify places where we are having difficulty keeping those old versions secure and fix those things. And so like sitting on these 140 nodes for a year, like those will get patch releases with security fixes. And now they actually get Go security fixes as well. And so
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. But doesn't that fall subject to the same, we're going to cycle all your workloads problem?
No, minor upgrades require draining nodes. Patch upgrade.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Do not.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, if you're using immutable nodes, then yeah, you're gonna have to cycle them to get the patch upgrade. But then there's actually a reason. Like what I'm trying to avoid is making people upgrade for things they don't care about. And so if someone wants a security fix, they need a security fix, then sure, you need to upgrade. Maybe you can do that non-disruptively, maybe you have to be disruptive.
Got it.
But telling people like there's a feature that you don't care about and you have to upgrade for it, like that's just abusive.
Yeah, no, I discounted the in-place upgrade case, of course. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then like you only have to upgrade when there's actually a security fix that you need. Anyway. That's what I've got. I'll probably tag a couple Arch folks. I'm trying to get a couple people from each SIG to actually be like officially listed as reviewers, but obviously anyone who wants to take a look and leave comments about things I missed or costs that I didn't consider. Great. Am I no longer sharing my screen? I can't tell.
You are not sharing anymore.
Every node, every week, Tim.
I was talking to a customer recently who does this aggressively, and they're so proud of themselves because it guarantees that all of their workloads just tolerate it.
I mean, I love people who do that. People who do that are my best friends. People who are like, nope, my app takes 3 days to start and it downloads 800 terabytes of data, which takes another week. Don't you dare make me restart this more than once every 2 months. Like,
Tim, I would also say, make sure you have your own registry and don't pull from us if you're doing all these kinds of stuff.
That's yesterday's news. That's all fixed now.
Come on, Tim.
We've moved on to the next fire drill.
Yep, for sure. Okay, I think we are. Any questions for Jordan? Going once, going twice. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is Tim.
So my question, not nearly as ambitious as the previous, but I was reviewing PRs over the last few weeks, and I noticed an increasing trend of getting tagged on PRs that just need approval because they've already been reviewed by the area experts and they just don't have the approval rights that they need in the directories that they're touching. And I promised that I would bring this up with this group because I know a lot of the people here suffer the same syndrome as me. And the question I guess I want to propose is, how do we do better than that? It seems stupid for people to have to wait for me to pay attention to their thing. I mean, Jordan's much better at sweeping up the small PRs and approving them, but at some point people get stuck and they wait for one of us to come along and just say, yeah, all the people who know this code have already approved it. I'm just boilerplate stamp. So the question came up of, should we refactor our packages into better structures so that people have better, more granular ownership? And somebody mentioned that there was or is an effort to do file pattern matching in owners files, and that maybe that effort is stalled out, and maybe we should infuse a little bit of energy into it. Certainly easier to refactor into files than to refactor into packages. So I wanted to bring that topic. Yeah,
that is waiting for the approval v2 plugin for Prow, and that is stuck. It's been stuck for like a couple of years now. I think we should look at it for 128 as soon as master opens up. to drive. It's waiting for reviews, basically. The code has been ready. It's been tested by folks on like other, GitHub orgs. We just haven't been able to enable it here. The code is ready. It's just waiting for reviews. I think we should speed up the reviews and get that in. If there is anything else we can think of, for sure. I don't know.
That feels to me like a good way to increase velocity overall and improve our delegation. And it'll pay dividends over time by getting over-constrained people out of the bottleneck.
Right. So one other idea that I tried a little bit before, but it didn't really work, is like the PR reviews channel. We could ask authors to, when they have a reasonable amount of LGTMs in the areas that are covered, they can pop up there and ask for help for approval for things from you and Jordan, for example.
A faster approved ticket is still a ticket, right?
Yeah.
I would much prefer to delegate to all the people that I know and trust. It's just that a lot of the code that is in question is in shared packages.
Right. The only problem with that is like keeping that refreshed and up to date. That is where we are failing, right? We have stale owners, stale approvers, and we haven't been able to nail that problem yet. So if we go around like doing all the changes now, 6 months from down the line, it's not going to be the same, right? Like people come and go. So that problem we haven't solved yet.
I mean, for people who are getting approver level access, like the churn has got to be lower than like reviewer, right? Like within Signet, I'll pick on, like, we would have added people to the review list over the last year, but have not taken away anybody.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be nice if we got a report that said your approver access hasn't been used in 12 months. Do you still need it? Right. But that feels like a optimization on the general problem.
Right. It's more important to add more new people rather than take out old people. That's the other problem. So,
but if we start breaking it down by file, we do get more management, right? Like if it's like, but I mean, it's probably still worth it, but it's just, we'll probably just make that problem a little bit more acute.
Maybe. I'd rather try it than.
I agree.
No.
Yeah. We should try whatever we can for sure. Yeah. +1. Okay. So I'll try to do that.
Thank you. I will be happy to guinea pig it on some packages and start breaking them down into files with specific pattern names or something.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Thanks, Tim. CC, you're up next.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm here just to seeking approval for a new repo under Kubernetes for the feature validation animation policy. As most people might be aware of, we have this new feature initially called CLE animation control, which aim to offer an declarative in-progress alternative to the validation animation webhook using Cell. And I'm happy to share that this feature brought a lot of interest among like the community and the ecosystem. So a lot of teams internally, externally reached out to see when they were able to use the feature. But unfortunately, due to like the recent update on the API default policy change and the feature gate nature, like the feature has to be waited until it goes to stable GA before like the managed clusters can users can like adopt the feature. So I'm here to see if it's possible to provide a way to offer a way for the interest group to adopt it early. And I know like a similar mechanism was offered earlier for pod security animation to offer an alternative before people can fully kind of do the migration. So I'm here to see if it's possible to kind of have a repo for that.
Yeah, I'm good. As you described, the one thing that I don't understand is what are the artifacts that will live here, CC?
Sorry. Sorry.
Are these example cell patterns that will be there, or what will be there?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So we plan to offer like a fully kind of implementation, like ready to be used by the user now through CRDs. It's technically still a webhook, but we will try to mirror like whatever like the feature, the entry feature has like to this external repo. So this way, like user can early adopt the feature and be able to use the cell in the very similar way as the validation admission policy. And also later when the feature is fully ready, like the transition will be as smooth as just applying like a bunch of existing YAML files. Yeah. Sorry.
Any questions for CC? No.
I'd consider dropping or making the validating piece more generic, because I think we see mutating admission coming eventually. It would be nice to just be able to reuse the same repo for that as well.
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Tim, can you add your comment on the issue itself, please? So
yeah,
it doesn't get lost. Okay.
And this is a standalone repo, right? Not a staging repo.
Yes.
Yeah, not a staging repo.
Right, cool.
And you have to get a +1s from the SIG API machinery folks as well.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Any other things anybody wanted to talk about? And who's going to KubeCon otherwise? Okay, Jordan, Micah. Okay, Wojtek. So Tim, you, me, Tim Allclair, CC. CC, you going?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, DC and Joe will be there.
Okay.
I will miss you all desperately, and I will have a beer at noon just so that I can be drinking at the same time as you, but I will not be there.
Yeah.
I will not be there either.
Big FOMO. Have fun, you all. Enjoy the trip. Enjoy Amsterdam. Okay. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye.
Everyone.